live from the apocalypse in Charlotte, North Carolina. COVID was kind of a blessing to sort of like take a lot of the stress and anxiety off me as a creative. I was free to do what I wanted without any repercussions or ramifications or even like any kind of rush of deadlines to perform or deliver things within a certain time frame. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day life of having to constantly produce for people other than yourself. So it was nice that I had a nice 2 months of healing before I had to go into 7 days of hard rioting in the streets. It's a dope time to be an artist right now. Living amongst the chaos is a lot more exciting than what I thought it would be. I get to bear witness to a revolution, and a lot of us have a lot of material that we now get to channel into new ways. We have new stories to tell. We have new people to, I hate to say memorialize, but we have new faces to bring life to. I do believe that I channel water in my style of painting. It's very destructive, it's very hard. My process is more or less just going along with the flow of things. When it comes to a painting, I don't necessarily have an outline or a plan or a sketch. I like to let the painting make itself. And as Bruce Lee said, be water. Flow like water. Crash onto the canvas like water.
Hi, my name is Reva Bowens. The work that I did is an identity work project with Janelle Dunlap. The work is based off of her participation in the Keith Lamont Scott marches that happened and the protests that happened back in 2016. It's more so a personal experience for her and kind of like for me, a interpretation of that personal experience. Oddly enough, the makeup designer just put colors on my face, and I didn't know what the colors were going to be. So she kind of like told me as she was doing them. For me, knowing that the colors kind of are of the African flag, it represents power to me. And considering what's all going on right now, it has kind of given me a sense of, it's emboldening me, making me feel stronger, and embracing my blackness that I already feel strong in. But the colors themselves kind of embrace that even more and speak louder, kind of because they're on my face. It's interesting being in a space where everybody has masks on right now, and I have on face paint, and I forget that I have on face paint, and everybody has on masks, and I don't have on a mask. And so it's kind of like this opposite thing of where I have these colors that are being bold, but then everybody else has on this thing where I can't see their face, but they can kind of see mine. We're still not really being seen at the same time.
Hello, my name is Malik J. Norman, and this is my body of work, Ebb and Flow of Real Black Spaces. This body of work speaks about the cultural deterioration and the evolution of this space. I think it's important to capture Black spaces and spaces in general to focus on where we've come and where we're going. Photography itself is the action of capturing time and light, and being able to portray history through photography is capturing and archiving existence itself. So with my work, I think it's important to continue to keep these narratives alive so we live beyond these circumstances. Water is life, and this body of work is specifically inspired by water. I wanted to focus on the blue and the green to connect to this earthly change that happens that is man-made, but also, just an aspect of evolution of time. And water retains history and retains memory.
My name is Audrey Williams. I go to UNC Charlotte. I am a BFA candidate in painting. I guess what really empowers me about abstract art is just the freedom to do what you want. I just kind of felt like it helped, when I'm in school, we always have to replicate what we see every single day. So I think that's just what my piece is about, is just to have the freedom to do what you want without judgment.
My name is Anderson Brasilero. The use of anatomy is more I do a lot of abstract work, and I want more of realistic objects in my art in order to balance things out. I was influenced by my dad. He's a doctor. Ever since I was a little kid, he had a ton of anatomy books around the house. So I would just flip through them every now and then, acting like I'm studying like him. Really, I was just looking at the pictures and just being fascinated with the outlines of different organs, the way things are shaped. And I think that kind of gave me a lot of influence as a young person. I try to utilize different organs for different feelings. The heart obviously having a lot to do with love, having a lot to do with passion, the will to live, the fight. Sometimes I use intestines in order to describe digestion, the stomach, the brain, all that. They all have their significant place in each one of my paintings. It's okay to be emotional, to bring it out, to wear your heart on your sleeve, to be honest.
My name is Madison Ely, and I'm a photographer originally from Pasadena, California, but currently based in the Midwest between Chicago and Michigan. And the work that I'm showing here today is from my fellowship at the Sweetwater Foundation, which is a farm school community being built on the south side of Chicago and Inglewood. What they're doing at the Sweetwater Foundation is regenerative neighborhood development. So we are essentially rebuilding the community of Black people through Black joy, which is through farming, agriculture, arts, and education. And I think what Black joy means to me is being able to find a way to just exist and to live in the world. And I was able to find that through the Sweetwater Foundation, through farming, through weeding every day, and through like creating furniture, building furniture, and also documenting it as it's going on. I think that returning to practices for not just Black people, but I think all people of color, to farming and touching soil is extremely important for healing our communities. And I was just blessed to be able to capture that and how I stayed present during my time there. As a photographer, I was watching everyone, watching the speakers, watching the students, how they interacted with each other and how they responded to things being said. So how I stayed present was making sure that I wasn't just looking at the people speaking, but also everything that was going on in the space. Obviously, like with the camera, you get pulled out sometimes, but I think that it helped me to focus more.
My name is Jonathan Cooper. These are my pieces, which were photographed in New Orleans and New York. First two up there is photographed at Lafayette Cemetery. You know, I was drawn to water. I've always been drawn to water, and it just so happened to rain the day before I went out there. And you know, just staring at the reflections, I was thinking about literally that, reflecting back, thinking about the past, the present, and the future. You know, just thinking about the grounds that's there. You know, how many people have traveled through there. The people that actually are in these tombs above ground. If you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. So they say. Last two down here in New York, it was photographed in Brooklyn, Bushwick, Brooklyn. I don't know exactly what was there before. Doing some more research about the history of the ground. You know, just thinking about the past. What led us here was on those grounds before.
My name is Helms Gerald. For this particular exhibit, I chose to be thinking about water and the intersections of water and justice. I decided to go and collect water from the watersheds of several neighborhoods in Charlotte. And then I looked at the demographics of those neighborhoods to compare the average age of death in each of the neighborhoods. So for instance, in a predominantly Black neighborhood on the west side called Enderley Park, the average age of death is 66 years old, whereas in a predominantly wealthy white neighborhood on the south side of Charlotte, Foxcroft neighborhood, the average age of death is 82 years old. I'm considering and observing this disparity and thinking about what does this mean for me as a person of faith, as a minister? What does it mean to be immersed or baptized into the geographic waters that we live in? So I created a baptismal for people to be thinking about, like, what water would you want to dip your hand into? How would you want to be immersed? Would you want to be immersed in the waters where your predicted average age of death is 53 years old? Or would you want to be immersed in the waters of that of 82? And who gets to choose? And why? And where is the church in all of this? So those are the kinds of questions that I'm asking when I made the piece, which is a baptismal and kind of, it speaks to both the faith aspect and also the justice aspect.
I'm OG Weirdo, or either Scott Summers, and this is my piece. This is called A Brainwashing Machine, and this is Toxic 8 News, and this is a news station from this universe that I call Looneyville. Like cereal boxes, cartoons, the news, everything that's happening in the world right now inspires me because like it's been happening forever. I don't really think it's gonna change. They've been doing this shit since like forever. Like my best friend grandmother just turned 100. And like shit was like that when she was little. And she's 100, you know what I'm saying? And her grandmother, her mother, her mother's mother. Like, it's never gonna change. You know, I just feel like I should illustrate what I see on TV, because my grandparents sit at home and look at the TV and they tell me about all of this COVID and all of this crazy mess going on. Me personally, I think it's bullshit, you know, like, I think like the media uses stuff to like intimidate and, you know, push the human culture to like places to where they want it to be. It's like leading the cattle. I really feel like we're all cattle. We're not like the politicians or the famous people. We're more so like, I don't know what the fuck we are. I don't know where the fuck we at. You know, like, I just know like shit like this happens all the time and it's never gonna change unless we all come together, black, white, brown, green, blue, whatever, you know, like, but it's always gonna be like this if we don't make a change and come together, and like, it's fucking scary, but like, so it's like driving on the fucking highway, you know, you gotta do it though, so.
Hi, my name is Milan Din. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. This work is called One Nation for All. My work reflects not only the times, but my own personal experience as a refugee, woman of color, and my experiences. So this piece with the life vest and the whistles is actually inspired by my family's refugee experience in our escape from Vietnam by sea. And so, long story short, we left on the last day before the Viet Cong were coming in. 1,000 of us were on a ship. We were out there, and the ship broke down and started sinking. And then we were rescued by another refugee ship. And so we were like thousands of people at sea. And the thing was, nobody wanted us because South Vietnam was no longer a country, it was defunct. And so we weren't allowed to dock anymore. We were basically a bunch of innocent people without a country that nobody wanted. Until the USS Kirk, Navy, they were waiting for orders from Congress. Congress was like, we wash our hands of this. We can't let these people die. And so they came by the different ships and lowered the Vietnamese flag and raised the American flag. And so my point with this piece is that beyond politics, beyond any of that, strangers, people wanted to save people because it's the wrong thing to kill people, to let people die because of politics, following your moral compass. I think this is really relevant today because of the idea of many people are drowning because of lack of opportunity, because of poverty, and we are one nation. It's a promise of equality that has not been fulfilled. These life jackets are a symbol of we need to rescue people because it's the right thing to do. Peace out.